Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to our podcast, Deen Thoughts. No, my voice did not just get deeper all of a sudden. I am guest speaker Jad, here to replace Adam, Deen Bro's position, and I'm here with Deen Sis.
It's okay. He'll be back soon, inshallah. He's just not available right now for an episode.
Inshallah, he'll be back soon. Unless you guys like me more, then I will be the permanent host.
We'll see. I can actually put out a poll on Spotify, you know?
Yeah.
We'll put out a poll.
I am actually the new permanent host.
No, we still want Adam.
No. Do we though? No, I'm joking. We love Adam, and that brings us to our topic about love actually in Islam. So, if you guys remember, a couple days ago, today is February 24th, on February 14th, we had Valentine's Day. I hope you guys did not celebrate Valentine's Day, because I will give you a couple of lessons to take home. That way you guys understand the meaning of Valentine's Day and why it might not be the best thing to actually partake in the celebration of Valentine's Day. So let's actually take a look, first of all, at the history of Valentine's Day, which dates all the way back to about 269. That's after Christ. And it was during a time where the king did not allow people to get married. So obviously, Valentine's Day is named after Saint Valentine. He was a Christian priest. And as I said before, during that time, the king did not allow them to get married. And this was because he thought marriage would hinder them from being able to partake in war or increase society in any means through either work or education, etc. So obviously what ended up happening is Valentine's kept getting married. He got married, which obviously led him to get executed. And before he was executed, it was said that he cured his daughter's blindness. So that's really a very quick history on Valentine's Day.
So Valentine was a man during this time period?
Yeah, he was a man.
Okay, no, I'm just making sure, because when you were saying, it didn't make sense a little bit.
No, that's what I said. He said
he was a man living under the king. The king's rule, the king who said they couldn't get married, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, he said the men couldn't get married, not the women.
Yeah.
So anyways, it said that he cured his daughter from blindness. So that obviously brings up a couple red flags. Number one being the fact that he cured his daughter's blindness, which obviously we know that only Rabbul Alameen can cure. And if people want to give the argument like, oh, but Isa cured blindness and healed people through Rabbul Alameen's will. It was not as...
And he was a prophet too.
Yeah,
so
but...
he had signs.
Some people bas bihibbu jadlu. So if people just want to argue with you just for the love of arguing, you could always say, well, yeah, Isa was not only a prophet, but he did it bi'idhnillah. You know, there was narrations where, for example, he would say Bismillah or bi'idhnillah. So it's not like he was just doing it min andu. And then... so that's obviously red flag number one, is that how can another human being cure someone without the will of God? Number two is the king said that marriage was bad, whereas we know in Islam, marriage is actually very good. So good to the point that it completes 50% of the religion for a man and for a woman. So we know that marriage is actually very good. As Muhammad ﷺ said in a hadith, I don't know the exact hadith word for word, but a quick analysis would be those who are able to get married should get married. Those who are able, obviously meaning those who are able financially and mentally. You know, it's not like you are still a child and you're getting married. No, you are mentally capable of marriage. Then you should get married. And those who cannot should fast. So we know that getting married, one, is 50% completion of the deen. Number two is also allowing the man to limit himself from doing haram. It is now increasing the halal that the man can do.
You know, I don't know what ayah it is in the Quran, but there's one ayah that mentions how the women are like, Allah created the woman in a way where it's like libasun lakum. So it's like they're like a clothing for you, in the sense that like a man is not complete unless he has this love and this affection shown. Like he can show it towards a woman, or a woman can show it towards him. So just in the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even mentions in the Quran that marriage and like this form of connection and this love actually completes, and like it brings about rest. Like, you know, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam, You know, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create Hawa for him? Because he needed a companion, he needed a partner. And subhanAllah, when you look in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that he created Hawa from Adam's rib. He didn't create Hawa from his head or his foot, in the sense to show that him and Hawa are equal. So yeah, you're in a marriage, but you're equal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't, he didn't create Hawa from Adam's head, meaning that she's above him, or his feet, meaning that she's below him, which is just like another cool thing.
Right, exactly. So that's also very important. But that now gets me into the different types of love in Islam. So obviously you guys are all about Valentine's Day. So how about I teach you a bit about love in Islam? And there's vast amount of love in Islam. So number 1 being love to Allah. Number 2 being love to the Prophet. So I'm just going to go over all the loves and then we'll go in depth more. The third is obviously love to your parents. You got love to your wife, love to your children, love to your neighbors, love to everything and anything basically, confined to the beliefs of Islam. I'm not telling you to go love khanzir, for example. I'm telling you to love, stuff that are bound to Islam. As you guys know, this unfortunately is also prevalent in our days, where a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're coming out, like, yeah, I support you, or whatever, or you're gay, oh my God, love you. No, this is, it's not part of Islam. So you cannot put that under the umbrella of love in Islam is associated with that. Because if it was, then Rabbul Alameen wouldn't have taken a whole entire city and flipped it on itself to kill everybody. So let's be realistic. I don't like everybody being touchy sensitive. Islam is a religion of just straight ease and straightforwardness. Rabbul Alameen didn't beat around the bush with people in Islam. He gave it to you straight, and that's the nice thing about Islam.
There is actually so much beauty in the religion of Islam, and there's so much love when you actually think about it. Like, there's so many rights. Like, we talked about the rights of the parents, and when you, let's just get into it when you're talking about the loves, and then inshallah that'll give us like a better understanding for everything.
Yeah. No, but I just didn't want anybody to get misconceptions.
There are types of love that we're not allowed to partake in, like you're saying, this type of love. But let's look at the ones that we can.
Exactly. So let's look at the most important one, obviously, is love to Allah.
And love from Allah to you. Both ways. It's reciprocal.
Yes, exactly. You could touch upon love to Allah.
Okay, let me talk about this. So there's a hadith that comes to mind where the Prophet, or I think it was a hadith related by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, where he basically said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he loves a slave, he calls to Jibreel. And he tells Jibreel, I love this slave. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Jibreel, I love him, so then you love him. So now we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Jibreel loving this slave. And then Jibreel goes and tells all of the angels in the heavens that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves this person. So then all of the angels in the heavens love them. So essentially, gaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love, which, just think about that for a second, like you walking on this earth knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, And the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you means that He mentioned your name to the angels. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning you by name to His angels, to Jibreel, who is the best of the angels, to the best of the inhabitants of the heavens, the other angels. And so all of the angels in the heavens love you. So subhanAllah, when you actually attain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love, and you do this inshallah from doing His ibadat, staying away from what He told you to, doing what He told you to. There's even a hadith that mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that my slave, the most beloved thing for my slave is that he does those that are obligatory, the obligatory salawat. And then if he continues and he does the sunan, so the extra sunan prayers, he attains my love to the point where I become the eyes with which he sees, the ears with which he hears, and so on. So the sense that when you are not only going and you're just doing the bare minimum, you're not just doing what's obligatory, you're going above and beyond for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's another way to attain His love and His mercy and His rahmah. Essentially, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, you know that inshallah you've attained His rahmah as well, because you were worthy of His love to begin with,
Exactly, 100%. I like that. So then, as I was saying, love to Allah, as Mira just said, we were talking about how Rabbul Alameen loves you, and now we need to talk about how you need to love Rabbul Alameen. So there is a Quran verse that is saying, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا يحبونهم كحب الله والذين آمنوا أشد حبا لله ولو يرى الذين ظلموا إذ يرون العذاب أن القوة لله جميعا وأن الله شديد العذاب.
So that's a nice ayah.
This translates to, yet there are men who take for worship other besides Allah as equal with Allah. They love them as they should love Allah. So that's the first half. Let me first translate that half, and then we'll hopefully get to the second half. So basically, I wanted to relate this very similarly to people who, when it's time for salah, for example, of salah al-Jum'ah on Fridays, this happens a lot of times with me in college, we'll call people towards salah of Jum'ah, and they'll always give us an excuse, such as, I can't, I have to go study, or no, there's a review session today, or no, I have to go play football, or no, I have to shabi arifni. And it's like they're putting studying in front of Rabbil Alameen, or putting money in front of Rabbil Alameen. And then the important thing are there are men who take for worship other besides Allah as equal. So what do we mean as equal? For example, if you only focus on getting money every single day, and you literally make that your priority to get money every single day, you are now basically worshiping money.
You're a slave to the dollar.
You're a slave to the dollar. You're not letting the dollar work for you. This is passive income. We will get to that. No, please go ahead.
There's a hadith. Honestly, I think we gotta get Adam back in here. I don't know if I really like you being the host for this one.
I don't really appreciate this.
We'll continue.
Let's take a vote, everybody, please.
I'm actually gonna put up a poll.
Go ahead.
Anyways, okay, I was gonna mention there was a hadith that says I don't know if it was a hadith, but it's narrated to us that when Umar accepted Islam, he went to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he was basically telling him that he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he loves himself. But so basically the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he mentioned to Umar that you will not truly have full iman, you will not truly have full faith unless you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you love the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ more than you love yourself. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying. When you love someone, like let's say you're in love, or you really love them, like your mom or your dad or anyone, you would long to talk to them, right? Like let's say you're in love and someone's texting you, you're gonna like right away answer their text. You're not gonna let a minute pass by where you don't text them. If you stop talking to them, you're gonna feel sad. You're gonna want to talk to them. The same concept. When you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're gonna long naturally for His ibadah. You're gonna long to answer His call of prayer right away, to do salah and ibadah and read Quran. So that's the same concept. Is how much love do you have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of translates to how much motivation you have towards His ibadah. Like that's kind of like answering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's call for you. Like Allah, when He calls you to salah, He wants to talk to you. He wants to have a conversation with you. But sometimes we sadly turn away, or we like even when we go to salah, we go and we're not completely focused.
Right. And it happens to all of us.
It does.
We might be playing Fortnite and then we go salli and we're still thinking about how Fortnite. I'm building.
Yeah. No, we're going to do an episode, inshallah, about salah and like tips on how to focus in salah. If anyone has any good tips, feel free to send them in as well so we can mention them. But yeah, let's continue.
The second thing we are going to talk about is the love of the Prophet. So there's a hadith that translates to, none of you will attain perfect faith until I am more beloved to him than his child, his parents, and all people. So a lot of times we try to flex that, I just met LeBron. But instead of trying to aim to meet LeBron, we should try to aim to meet, inshallah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
And his companions as well.
And his companions. So for example, a lot of people are actually blessed to be able to see Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their dreams.
Yeah, if you see him in your dream, it's actually like
it's him.
How he looks like.
And for those people who just realized I slowed down the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's because I remembered hearing something from Mufti Mink where he was like, a girl approached me and she was like, why are you saying sallallahu alaihi wasallam so fast? And you should say sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because when you say it, it's actually ibadah. It's a form of ibadah. You know, that's why they always say, akthirul salat ala nabi on Friday.
Also, like, when you send salawat upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
Sallallahu
wasallam,
alayhi wa
there's
sallam.
an angel that goes and actually like
Yeah.
resurrects him for a second, I think, or like puts his soul in his body so he knows that you said sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, something along that lines. Like Allah, I don't know if it's like he resurrects him.
Yeah, if you guys want to fact check that and email us, go ahead. But so what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something before Mira. You beautifully brought that in. So I was gonna say.
You were mentioning how we have to slow down when we're mentioning his name.
Right. So we have to slow down.
And for Salat al-Jum'ah, like on the day of Friday, to increase.
Right. Obviously, you should increase Salat ala Nabi. But it's also important, one, you get hasanat. Two, the only prophet that's going to be there on the day of judgment is going to be Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who is going to be the one
to do shafa'ah. He's going to be the one that's going to intercede.
Right.
And that kind of...
But wait, I think people might misunderstand. He's not going to be the only prophet there. Obviously, all the prophets are going to be there.
Yeah, but he's going to be the only prophet who has... So let me explain this a little bit more. Every single prophet, when they were living, they had a dua. A dua that if they made it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would automatically give it to them and not question it. Like, it was kind of like a free ticket. So, like, for example, Yunus... Or no, let's look at مثلا Nuh. Nuh, who gave da'wah to his people for thousands of years, none of them believed. So Nuh said, oh Allah, don't leave anyone on this world who's not Muslim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the flood. That was the dua of Nuh. Musa with the splitting of the sea. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never used his dua. He kept it and he saved it. Even when his uncle Hamza was dying in front of him, even when Khadija died, everyone who loved him died in front of him, and all the pain and hardship that he went through, he never used this dua because he wanted to save it for the day of judgment. And we have such an honor and a blessing to actually be part of the ummah, part of the nation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we get the shafa'ah. Of course, inshallah, all of the Muslimin as well. But it's our beloved Prophet who everyone is going to run to every other prophet and ask them, and they're going to say, nafsi, nafsi, myself, because they know that they might have done something wrong. But we're all going to run to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he is going to be the only one to say, ummati, ummati, my nation, my nation. This is the amount of love that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had for us. He used to spend nights making dua for us, for his ummah, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, even though he didn't even meet us. You know the hadith where he was with his companions and he told his companions, I long to see my brothers. The companions turned to him and they're like, oh Rasulullah, are we not your brothers? And he said, no, you guys are my friend, my ashab. He said, my brothers are those that are going to come after me and worship me even though they have not seen me. That's us, inshallah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam 1400 years ago was longing to see you, to meet you, to know your name.
Yeah, and then you have some of your friends who don't even care about you. And then you have Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was literally longing to meet you.
He used to spend nights crying. Like, he cried so much for us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel just to ask him, even though Allah knew. Why are you crying? Because he wanted to save his nation. That's how much love he had for us. And you know, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will not rest in Jannah. He will not be fully content in Jannah until every single person from his nation who had a little speck of iman is in Jannah. He will continue to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove them from Jahannam, to put them into Jannah, because he wants his nation to be with him in Jannah. And that's the gift that we get just from being his nation. Nuh's nation doesn't get that. Ibrahim's nation doesn't get that. Just us, because of the love that he had for us as well.
Exactly. So that's why it's important. He provided that love. We need to love him more. That's exactly where the hadith comes from that I just read, about making sure that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is, very high priority besides obviously Rabbil Alameen.
We need to love him. You need to know about him. You need to learn about him,
exactly.
who he is, who he was, what he stood
now,
for.
Loving, you shouldn't get into bid'ah, because a lot of people believe loving means you should celebrate the Prophet's birthday, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and doing all that stuff. No, that's...
Or make dua to him. You're not allowed to do
exactly. That's like borderline shirk, borderline bid'ah. So you need to understand the difference between love and the difference between bid'ah.
Or honoring.
Exactly.
Honoring him.
So if you guys want to do love and stuff like that, follow his sunnah. Small things in salah. Or
increasing in your sujood. That's what attains you his level.
Exactly.
And there's, one thing to mention also. There's a hadith where this one guy, he basically came to the Prophet and he said, right now you're living and I'm happy that you're like we're together, but when you die, I'm not going to be able to be with you anymore. And that thought just like it brings me so much pain. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he waited for a revelation, and Jibreel came down to him and he said that people will be together in Jannah with those that they loved. Same thing with on the Day of Judgment. You will be standing and grouped together with those that you love. So when you have a love for the Prophet and his Sahaba, inshallah, then we'll attain levels and ranks, inshallah, out of Allah's mercy with them, and we'll be able to stand next to them during Yawm al-Hashr as well, inshallah.
Exactly. So make sure, obviously, to try to increase your sunnah. Try to increase your love first, primarily to Rabbil Alameen. Second, to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
To go off what you're saying, actually, I wanted to mention some stories about the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and how he used to show love to people. Because we know that the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is our best role model. And like, honestly, someone that if we want to learn anything, it should be him. So when we want to learn about love and how to love, like you were mentioning from before, like to our parents, to people who are in this world, let's look at how he used to do it. So one example is
the wives.
The wives. One time, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he was out late. And it was the night that he was supposed to go to Aisha's house. And Aisha basically locked the door. She kind of locked him out because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was late. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, of course, he like knew what to do. He was the best when it came to stuff like this. So instead of like knocking on the door and yelling at her, open the door, like I was late, whatever. As he was walking up to the door, he started calling her by a nickname that he had for her. So he used to call her Aish. So he like, just showing like a way like, okay, I know probably I was late. I'm sorry. But like, and she went and opened the door for him. So just like this words of affirmation, this way that he used to like call her in like a nice way, not being like rude or disrespectful. Or another example is one time, because we know the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he used to have, he had more than one wife. And so one time there were friends over at Aisha's house. And two of the other wives, I don't know if it was two or one of them, had sent over food to Aisha's house because they knew that they were having guests over. So this made Aisha mad. She was like, you think I don't know how to cook food for my guests? So she took the food and out of her anger, she literally dropped it on the floor. So she broke it. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he turned to his companions and he said, غارت أمكم, your mother, she got jealous. So just showing like he was so slick with situations. He knew what to do.
Exactly. Sometimes we gotta also be slick like this. Like for example, there's a story that comes to mind where it's like they were eating.
And they were eating like I think it was like a morsel of meat, and he took. Is that what you're saying?
I thought it was khibze.
Maybe, I don't know. They were eating something.
I thought it was bread. I'm be honest. And he took it out of. So Aisha took a bite, and then she gave it to him. And I'm assuming I'm not 100% on this one, but I'm assuming she like gave it to him in a way where the place where she bit wasn't where he was biting. Yeah. So he moved it where he bit right from where he was where she was biting. Yeah. So it was like he bit exactly from her bite, which is like something very nice for you to do with your wife. And that just goes back to the overarching thing that I was kind of talking about from the beginning, where about Valentine's Day and all that stuff, where it's like Valentine's Day, it only subjects you to loving your wife once every year, or maybe sure you might be able to get her gifts on her birthday or anniversary, which we'll also touch upon, because obviously, as you guys know, in Islam, there's only two Eids, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Kabir. So realistically, anything else is, I guess, considered bid'ah, but that's not what we're here for today. What we're here for today is talking about Valentine's Day, and that's what I'm trying to say is that Valentine's Day, it's always like you see those sales, 50% off, come get it, come get the ring, should be Arifnio, come get this new watch, come get these earrings, especially Swarovski, man, they be doing big deals. But my point is everybody goes on Valentine's Day. I remember I was driving the car, everybody's getting balloons, everybody's getting flowers, everybody's getting specifically a teddy bear. Yani, should be Arifnio, and should be a teddy bear, seriously, and what are you going to do with the teddy bear? But anyways, they get a teddy bear. And then, obviously, subhanAllah, you got to make sure reservations at Macaroni Grill should be arfni where you're taking her out, And then it's like, all right, one day, khalas. The next day, you go back to being annoying, fighting, should be arfni. Or even just normal. Like, no, you need to love every day, not just your wife, but Rabbil Alameen, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, your parents. So Islam is not a deen of, one day is what you get love. Khalas. No, Islam is a religion of every day you need to love. I can just come home randomly with a box of chocolates for my wife. I don't need to have a specific occasion why I need to surprise her with a teddy bear even though I find teddy bears to be honestly very stupid.
They're kind of creepy, not gonna lie.
And that's another thing also. There's a lot of stuff in Islam. That's another thing. Technically, you shouldn't have stuff that has eyes in the house. But anyways.
That's for a whole nother episode.
Yeah, I got to be real. And you ruined it. So what was I saying? I ruined it out of myself. What was I saying?
Let me mention something and then it'll maybe trigger your train of thought. They say...
the choo-choo train is back. 1 sec. Let me finish. So anyways, as I was saying, Islam is not just a one-day love thing. And that's what we need to understand. Islam is an everyday love. You need to love, just like how Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to love his wives every day. That's what we need to do,
He never stopped loving us. He didn't even know
Exactly. All the men out there, you guys got to love your wives. Inshallah, if you're not married, inshallah, you guys get married. But you need to love your wives and kids every day. There shouldn't be an occasion that is necessary. And it's hard to remember that because a lot of times we get annoyed. We get upset. We get, aggravated with our family members. So we just cuss them out or piss off and stuff like that. But
this goes even to people who are not married. Like, I know there's probably a lot of us who are listening to this. Most of us are not married. This goes, like you were saying, to parents, to neighbors, to kids, to Allah, to everyone.
To Deen sis over here, obviously.
Everyone you have to show this love to. And there's a hadith that even says that there's 7 people who are under the shade of Allah. And inshallah, we'll talk about this later as well. But one of those are 2 people who come together for the sake that they love each other for Allah. And they leave parting each other that they love Allah, that they love each other for the sake of Allah. So this just shows you that you just loving someone for the sake of Allah literally gets you the shade of Allah on the day where there's no shade but His shade.
And that's also for the friends, by the way. I don't know if you were talking.
It is, yeah.
Oh, you were talking for friends?
Yeah. It's not. It's like for someone. Like you part with someone. They're not.
The way I understood it, Sarah, when you were saying was
that was like family members.
No, it was like husband and wife.
No. It could be, or it could be like a friend. Like you meet with a friend.
So that was actually the other thing. For love of friends, you have a friend that you're really close to him or her because they are very close to Rabbil Alameen. And if they get closer to Rabbil Alameen, you guys get closer. And it helps both of you, actually. Think about it. If you're both close to Rabbil Alameen, you both are going to help each other get closer to Rabbil Alameen.
Also, Karina, like, la samahallah, inshallah, none of this happens to anyone. But if you had a friend, and let's say you ended up in Jannah, and they ended up in Jahannam.
Yeah, you could call.
You can call them. There's ayat in the Quran. There's ayat in the Quran that says, I used to have a friend. Where is he? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows you him in Jahannam. So you make dua to Allah to leave him. Or even if you're in like a level of Jannah and you want someone to come up,
try to pull them up.
You can pull them up as well.
Yeah. No, it's like I used to have a friend that I used to salli with. Friends that pray together, stay together.
Yeah. Also, another thing I wanted to mention, which is like for basically, because we're talking about love between you and friends or like you and neighbors, other people. I saw this one post on Instagram that was mentioning that that your friends are true, genuine friends, that if you were to die in front of them, they would remind you to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. So like kind of like you were saying, friends that pray together, stay together. As-sahib sahib, your friend is going to pull you towards something. So get a friend that's going to pull you towards Deen. It's going to remind you to pray salah, to do what you're supposed to do. And inshallah, you guys will be united together in Jannah. Like, subhanAllah, there's so much benefit that comes out of loving relationships in Islam. We just never realize about it.
And it's important. That's why we keep going back to love Allah. A lot of people are like, how can I love Allah? Fine, you're telling me all this love, but what do I do?
You need to learn about Him.
Oh yeah, 1, learn about Him. 2, focus on the Quran. Obviously, that's Rabbil Alameen's speech. Yeah, I bet some people have, if you're far from the Deen, la samahallah, and then you listen to a bit of Quran, all of a sudden brings back good memories, maybe of Ramadan, brings back, like listening to good Quran. Like sometimes Muhammad Afasi, or what's his name?
Yeah, Afasi.
Is that Afasi?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of times, that's especially what a lot of my friends like to listen to, because Muhammad Afasi, I don't know, something about him just...
He has a very nice
voice. It reminds you of something of like Saudiya, where it's like you're in the middle of Ramadan. Yeah. And not only that, it's also good to like think about Rabbil Alameen's creations. Like, I bet, especially all the bio majors out there, learning about the cells. Like the other day, I was listening to a presentation and the instructor was telling us like, there's stuff inside your cells that literally light up just so that we could see. They literally light up. She's like, they literally light as if they're like torches, just so that we see what's inside the DNA, or what's in between the what's it called? Like I don't know exactly
Like
what
to
she was
find
saying.
its way or something?
No, it was like saying that if there is some sort of disease, that it will light up to show that there's that disease.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, what the heck? That's insane.
Like, subhanAllah, created everything.
Exactly. That's like super, super small. Then we go super, super big, like the galaxy. And then you take a look at some pictures of the galaxy and pictures of stars, and all of a sudden it's like, what the heck? You go from super, super small to random
Super
cells
big, yeah.
lighting up to super big, where it's like you have millions and billions of planets that take millions of light years. And if you were going to you go from one end to the other end, it would literally take you millions and billions of years. And it's like, wow. And what's even scarier is the fact that realistically, we're probably the only people on Earth, you know, because Rabbil Alameen didn't say that there was anybody else. So you think it's like, wow, Rabbil
Well,
Alameen.
there's the jinn, but like.
Yeah, but Rabbil Alameen literally created this whole entire universe that's massive, you know,
And
just
perfected everything.
and perfected
within it.
everything just to show us, like, yeah, you know, like
This is his creation.
this
is how
this
powerful
is Rabbil Alameen.
he is.
This is he's actually there. So you know, it's like don't be telling me there is no God. Astaghfirullah. He's there,
I think-
and he could do all this.
Yeah, honestly, the best thing is, like you said, Quran and understanding what the Quran is saying, and honestly, looking at the 99 names of Allah. Because like we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has these 99 names for a reason. He embodies every single characteristic.
Exactly.
Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his names is Al-Wadud, the all-loving. All of the love that you see in this world, kind of going back to what you were saying, Jad. Every single kind of relationship that you might see between a mother and her daughter, or like a mother and her child, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. Every single love that was created in this world comes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the fact that even when you do something that's haram, when you oppose the reason that you were created, which was to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't stop loving you. He doesn't tell your heart to stop beating or your lungs to stop breathing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us more than we can even imagine. And we don't attribute this kind of love towards Him. But kind of just to wrap all things up, understanding that Islam teaches us everything about this world that we need, from A to Z. Like, it even tells you how to go use the bathroom. And the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us everything that we need to know about love. Relationship to Him, to the Prophet, to your parents, to those around you. So just when we learn about our deen and we see what it truly tells us, we don't need to turn to false practices.
Exactly.
Or like other ways that are created because people don't have this kind of love in their religion to begin with. Like, isn't like Saint Valentine, isn't he Christian?
Yeah, I just said it was a Christian.
He was Christian, yeah. So like, they don't have this kind of stuff in Christianity, but our deen has everything. So we need to look and learn about the true essence of love, basically, in our deen as well.
Yeah, exactly. Loving every single day and stuff like that. Anyways, I said way a long time before, I was like, yeah, khalas, we're wrapping it up. But right now, actually, that's like I said, there's a lot of stuff to cover, and I don't want to start going back in circles. But this is, you know, some of the love that we covered. As I said, you know, there's a million different loves that I could probably pull up, you know. But
And inshallah, we'll dissect this a little bit more. But this is just like a general overview as well, inshallah.
exactly, you know. So you need to love Rabbil Alameen, love the Prophet, love your family. And all that stuff. So, you know, that's really to wrap it up.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode with our special yet crazy guest.
Special yet crazy guest. You know, I'm trying to spice things up.
I'm actually going to post a poll and we're going to see if they like Adam or
Go
Jadwa.
ahead. I don't want people to think Islam is boring. Guys, that's the hard part.
I don't think me and Adam made Islam boring.
I never said that.
Okay.
I just said I don't want people to think Islam's boring. You could have fun. You know, we had fun on the
that's
podcast
true.
today.
That's true.
We had fun. We make jokes. You know, it's fine. You could have fun in Islam as long as it's halal. That's
true.
the most important thing.
You know, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to race with his wives. That's fun.
Exactly. That's fun. So, a lot of times, unfortunately, that's what kind of draws people away from Islam.
That's true,
especially the young generation. Is that a lot of people in Islam are strict, and maybe hopefully with this podcast we could show that Islam is actually fun as long as you're confined to the boundaries of halal, which are a very big boundary.
Only little things were made haram.
Exactly. Limited things are made haram, whereas I can't even say boundary because it's not like a very tight one.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
You guys get the point. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm your host, Jad. And you know,
we'll see you guys inshallah on the next episode. We'll see if Jad's back.
Yeah, we'll see if I'm back or if I'm get fired. But
yalla,
salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. I hope that you guys enjoyed that last episode. There was a mistake in the episode that I do want to point out. It was around the point where we were talking about a story that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ talked about with his companions, where he said that I long to see my brothers. And then the companions asked the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, aren't we your brothers? He said, no, my brothers are those that will come after me. And I said in the podcast that they will worship me. That is incorrect. We know that shirk is when we worship others or we associate partners with Allah, which is completely not allowed. It's a nullifier of Islam. It was a slip of a tongue. It's those who came after and they obeyed him, as in we follow his sunnah. We worship according to what he taught us. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way that he taught us. Basically, you just follow his ways. You follow what he told us to do and what he told us to stay away from. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in the Quran that the Prophet Muhammad is not speaking from his own whims or desires, but he is someone who is receiving revelation. So we are following the way that the Prophet Muhammad told us, and we are worshipping according to what he told us, according to his sunnah, because it is in essence a revelation from God subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I just wanted to fix that up because I didn't want it to be something that people misunderstood. But thank you guys so much. Inshallah, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Salam.